Welcome to the Fit Vegan Podcast, the show where we help you optimize your health, fitness, and mindset on a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. My name is Maxime Sigouin. I am a former triathlete, powerlifter, bodybuilder, and basketball player, and I've been vegan for over 9 years. I'm also the founder and CEO of Fit Vegan Coaching, which has helped over 500 vegans from 20 different countries to completely transform their bodies and their health. I'm excited for you to hear today's episode. Let's get into the show. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fit Vegan Podcast. Today, I am joined by a Fit Vegan superstar, Patrick, the six-pack machine. Just made up that name for you, but it definitely got a six-pack now. Patrick, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good. Well, I'm excited that we get to chat today and dive into your transformation because you've had some pretty incredible results for the amount of weight that you've lost and how different your body looks. It's pretty incredible according to me and all the members that saw your photos on the group calls. And I always like to start off with a little bit of background on the person, right? Because a lot of people, I just like to get excuses out of the way. A lot of people say, I don't have the time to do this. And it's easy for other people because they have less than I have going on in my life. Mm-hmm. I know you have a lot of things going on in your life, and if you don't just work out and eat healthy all day, you have other things that you have to do. And so do you mind giving a quick background as to like, who is Patrick? What do you do for work? And kind of what are the things that could be preventing you from, exercising and eating healthy every day?
Right. Well, I will say I'm a funeral director, so my hours are pretty crazy. I'm working 50, 60 hours a week, and mostly, I'll go in the morning and then I'm there pretty late. So I'm pretty adamant to work out. I have to work out first thing in the morning at 5 or it's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. And I just even on my days off, I like working out in the morning. I just want to get it finished. But, my day can be, I never know. We're there 9 to 5, but I never know what time I'm going to get home. Been an athlete for most of my life, but never really had the body that I wanted to. I mean, I played college basketball, college volleyball, and still, I look at myself now and compared to then, and it's just like, it's night and day. Mm-hmm. So kind of back to work, I'm a funeral director and embalmer, so I am literally moving people around most of the day. Yeah. And, I've been vegan since 2012, but always felt like that. I think I told you before, that skinny, weak vegan. And felt like I would always take the lesser weight end of the person that we were moving. And I always felt weak to my coworkers who none of them are plant-based. And, they're always just like, okay, here comes the skinny vegan guy. Give him the light end. Yeah. But was prior to the program was plant-based. But, a little bit in the last 3 years, I had cleaned up my eating, but I was junk food vegan for a long time. And so had that kind of what you say all the time, that skinny fat look. Yeah.
So I'm curious, what made you want to do that shift? Like, was it that you were just tired of feeling like a skinny, weak vegan? What was the trigger that was like, I need to do something about this?
So I was pretty into CrossFit for about 4 or 5 years, and kind of the same thing. I felt like the weak guy. Like I always, I would see those shirts that say, you guys have the Fit Vegan or, something. Chef AJ always has a lot of cool shirts, but I was like, I don't even want to wear these because I feel so weak. And they'll be like, yeah, exactly. That's why you can't do anything. But I loved CrossFit, but it was frustrating because I just felt like I should be moving a lot more weight and I couldn't. And I was just like, I feel like I'm trying to clean up my food, but I wasn't kind of like now, I wasn't focused on the protein side of things. I came into the funeral industry late. It's a second career. And so most people at my age at this point are like, dealing with bad backs and kind of ready to get out. And I want to be able to, not be that person that has to struggle along at work or rely on the younger folks to help me. I want to be able to do my job as well as, I like to travel and do things. So I want to be able to not, just have to worry about my back hurts. Oh, it's age. my leg, this, that, and the other. I want to be able to be healthy and active into later years.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely on the right path. And I think you're definitely already there, like you mentioned, comparing to how you were in college versus how you look now. I think it's, I've never seen a photo of you in college, but you look pretty shredded now. So,
I never
right?
had a six pack. I mean, I was a skinny kid growing up, but I
Yeah.
had a six pack. I felt like it was there, but it was really covered up.
Yeah. So this is your, so I pulled up your profile before too. So you're 53. So this is your first six pack at 53.
Yep. Yep.
That's awesome, right? Most people think of like, well, I passed that stage, I won't be able to get there. And you have a really like defined six pack. Like you told me before we started recording, you go to Mexico, so I'm excited for you. Just walk shirtless, enjoy it
the whole time.
Yeah, just no shirt. Hey, when I lived in Mexico, I wore a shirt only when I went to fancy restaurants.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, I was shirtless. You just get a tan. You just freedom, right? Freedom of not wearing just shorts. Yeah. So I'm curious. You mentioned you were junk food vegan. You were doing some CrossFit, having a little bit of hard time with being able to push some more weights. Was there any other struggle that you had before starting that were like, those are areas that I also want to improve?
Well, I mean, it's been a long process of cleaning up my diet. I found you through Chef AJ. So I was a big follower of Chef AJ, Well Your World, Nutmeg Notebook. And they taught me a lot on, food prep and, the foods, the calorie density and things like that. But I still, it was like, they would say, eat as much as you want. And I love sweet potatoes, and I would just, I'd eat 2 and 3 sweet potatoes in a meal. And I was just like, I don't understand. They're always talking about the weight falling off. And great. I definitely lost weight. But I wasn't feeling strong, and I still was like, just soft. And so I wanted to and I would look at, other vegans on Instagram, and I was just like, I don't understand why that's not happening for me. I feel like I'm trying to be focused and try to eat the right things, but it's not happening. So I really wanted to shift. So I actually got out of CrossFit and was like, okay, I'm going to really work on, I joined a gym. I want to work on my mobility because I was having problems with squats just because of my ankle mobility and hip mobility. So I wanted to work on that, but I would kind of wander around the gym, and I was like, I need focus. I know I've used the gym for years. I love the gym, but I didn't have any type of structure. I'd be like, oh, let me watch this on Instagram for a while, and then I'm going to try this. And then, I'd do that for a week or so, and then I'd see something else. And so there was no structure to it.
Yeah. It sounds like red shiny object syndrome, right? It's like, well, this might work. And then you do it for a little bit of time, and they're like, oh, but this new thing might work better. I like what you said, because this comment has come up often in the last few podcasts I've recorded with members, which is, eat as much as you want as long as it's plant-based, and the weight will just fall off. And, there's some truth to it. I do agree to it to a certain extent, but everyone that promotes that focuses on health and just healthy body. No one's focused on body composition, which is a different ballgame.
Right.
When you want to have great, it's one thing to be like light and skinny, but it's another to be like lean and have muscle definition. It's a different approach, right? It's not, you eat the same foods, but just as you saw now, in different proportions, and you put an emphasis on protein versus eating 3 to 4 sweet potatoes because you want to eat as much as you can, right? So I'm curious, what was that shift for you, going from focusing on eating whole food, plant-based, and cleaning up your diet and eating as much as you want, to now the structure that we've given you? Like, what were some of the key things that changed that you would attribute your transformation to?
Well, I want to kind of back up. Like, first, one of the changes was I also, even though I had been plant-based since like 2012, I was having a lot of stomach issues. So constant bloating after I'd eat. And then I didn't realize, kind of once I came into the program and was eating more, there was a guide of how much to eat. I realized that I was like, wow, I'm not bloating as much because I think I was eating too much in a sitting. And I still have it. I'm still working on it a little bit, but that has helped me just realize that I'm like, I would eat till I was full. And in my mind, I was like, I'll eat as much as I can, and then I won't eat any junk food afterwards because I'll be too full to eat later. But sort of with the control of those portions, I've noticed that I feel a lot better with the stomach issues. And I was already
Yeah.
gotten to the point where, I'd worked hard to get that optimal blood work. So my blood work was already optimal. I went to, for my 50th birthday, I drug my now husband, at the time we were dating, to True North. And he was just like, really?
Oh yeah.
To pay all this money to not eat? And I was like, yes, exactly. And it was great. I learned a lot from it, but I should show you a picture of that where I look like I'm malnourished. I lost so much weight. I only did it for 5 days. I lost so much weight, but I was like,
Yeah.
this still isn't it. This still isn't the body that I want. Um, but sorry, I just lost track of your question. The transformation has just been like, I feel stronger, and I would say it was pretty quickly. Within the first month or so, I was starting to feel better at the gym, but also had focus at the gym. So it was like,
Yeah.
okay, and I actually have a plan. And it still took me a little while, because even though I had been going to the gym for a while, I was a little bit nervous. I was like, I'm not quite sure how to use that piece of equipment. I've seen this, but how do I modify? So I was able to, like, a little bit from my CrossFit days, I was able to pull some
Like
modifications.
some basics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, you can't do this, but you can step back and do this and build up to it. So it was just life changing in the gym. I felt so much more comfortable after a while of just like, I have a plan. I know what I'm doing. And the same with food. I have a plan. I know what I'm doing. And this is how much I eat. And I would get hungry a little bit now and then, but then, Sarah would say, well, eat more vegetables. And so I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I love that. So that was able to kind of fill me up a little bit more. So I was just
Yeah.
feeling better, just stronger, feeling better with food, in a pretty short amount of time.
Yeah. So how did the protein to like carb ratio change from before the program to now? And
I
what
mean,
you were
I
eating?
wasn't focusing on protein at all. I mean, I would eat protein, but I had no
Yeah.
idea how much protein I was eating. And so now, it's just, and I got a little freaked out for a while when we went into the reverse diet. I would look at, because I was using the meal plan for probably the first 3 months. And then I started using the
Yeah.
guide. Just,
Yeah.
I kind of got bored, and I take way too long on meal prep. So I was like, okay, I will, Sarah's like, okay, we'll try this. So using that has helped me, just really pay attention to because I needed to see it. Like, I loved in the beginning that you guys were giving me like, just eat this and just go. But like now
Hmm.
for me, I think for down the road, I was like, I need to see exactly what this looks like, because I would just have a food
Yeah.
already prepared and then just eat this dish and you're good. But I was like, well, how much protein is in there? How much carbs how much fat is in there? And as much as I never wanted to calorie count, like, I actually kind of like it now. And I was like, I can see what's in this food. I can see when I go out what's in this food.
Yeah.
But and understanding, like, I think you guys always mention, like, it's not that hard for the protein to add up. And I didn't
Yeah.
rely on protein powders. I wanted to do it through food mostly.
Yeah.
So it's helped to be able to see.
What it looks like.
Uh-huh.
And as you probably noticed at this point, it's only a few conscious decisions of changes, right? So instead of like 3 sweet potatoes, you have like 1.5, and then you have a block of tofu with it,
Mm-hmm.
and, right? That just add an additional 30 to 40 grams, depending if it's like soft or firm tofu.
Mm-hmm.
It adds up pretty quickly. It's just that we tend to want to eat more of the carbohydrates foods and the foods that are higher in fats, which will take a bulk of your calories. And it's just about like, hey, let's just have less of this and then a little bit more of the protein, and you'll be able to hit like 100+ grams
Mm-hmm.
very easily per day. And you mentioned reverse dieting. So for people listening, Patrick is in reverse dieting now. He's getting leaner as we're adding more food. You can tell by his photos, his body is just like tightening up, and because it kind of acts as a lean bulk. And what amount of calorie are you at right now for your reverse diet?
Just went up. Well, this week we went up to 2,200.
Okay, nice. So you have some ways to go to be at that top end of how much food you're going to be able to eat. But how has that experience been for you? to go through the fat loss, lose the weight. Because I think right now, so far, you're down 18 pounds, right?
Yep.
Because you're continuing to lose weight throughout the reverse diet. And you hit a new low today, the day that we're recording, at 140. Going from the fat loss to the reverse dieting. So it's like, hey, we lost the weight. Now, Patrick, we're going to add more food for you to eat. Was there any fears, apprehension? Like, what was going on for you?
I was excited for that to happen, but I had told Sarah I was freaking out because I was just like, what if I mess up? Like, I'm not going to be exactly at those calories and it's going to throw off my whole reverse diet. So I was really, I think I stressed about it for probably a month and a half. I was like, when are we doing this reverse diet? Because I don't know if I'm ready. I'm like, I'm fine with calories. And when we started it, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready. And Sarah's like, you're fine. You'll be fine doing it. And we stayed. Because I went on vacation and I kind of just went off the rails on vacation. But learning from you guys in the past, I was like, oh my God, I gained so much weight. But I totally had an understanding that it was the sodium and water from the stuff that I ate. But we stuck with, I don't know where we were when I went on vacation, but we stayed at that one for maybe 2 weeks, maybe. And then we rolled into the holidays. So we stayed at that for like maybe 3 weeks. And then increase. And so that was like, I was like, I don't want to wait that long. Like now I'm ready to move up the calories, but it was good. It was a good thing to do because then I could kind of get myself organized. And now we're going up and now I'm like, yay, I can have more pancakes or I can have a little bit more sweet potato. And it's been a little bit easier to play with going out, play with the calories a little.
It is. Yeah, you definitely have more wiggle room when you're eating out. You can afford to have meals that otherwise would take up 40% of your calories for the day.
Right.
And you're just starting. Once you get close to that, like near that 3,000, it's a great place to be. Hey, you go out, you're like, I can have pretty much anything on this menu right now. So I am curious, Patrick, like, have you ever worked with an online coach before? And did you have any fears or apprehension before starting? Because I think I remember the interview I did with Chef AJ, and I think that's originally where you heard of me the first time.
Yep. I've never done an online coach, and so I was like, I was immediately intrigued when I saw it. I was like, oh my God, this is what I've been looking for. When I heard the interview, and it was like, as soon as I finished the interview, I looked you up and started to get the information. And then when I had the onboard call, I was freaked out by honestly the cost. And I was just like, oh, sometimes I see a shiny new object and I was like, this is a pretty expensive shiny new object. Like, am I going to commit to this? And so I struggled with it for a while. And then I was like, well, all right, if I'm going to try it, then I pretty much had to have a good talk with myself. Like, if you're going to try this, you're really going to put forth the effort for what you're going to pay for it and give it and so then I made the decision and I was, pretty quickly on, I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Was it worth the investment? Absolutely.
And I've renewed twice. Yeah. Cause I'm, I think 7, I think. And I'm up, I've paid up through 8 months. But I was a little worried, in the beginning it was like, okay, 3 months and then 3 months of reverse. And then I was like worried because I didn't really have a goal weight. Cause when people ask that question, I was like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be. Cause I do know muscle weighs more than fat. So I don't know what I'm supposed to be. So I was just like, well, I kind of looked at, how much did I weigh in high school? Sure, that's a target, but I got to that pretty quickly. And that's kind of always been the number I've been shooting for, but that didn't really mean anything. And then, then I was like, the more calls I listened to, I was like, well, this reverse diet thing is going to take a lot longer. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, you guys just keep saying, trust the process. So I was like, let's just trust the process and see how it goes. And nobody's holding my feet to the fire as far as if I get to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to renew, fine. But I was like, but let's just see in the results. And it's just, I thought, when, you say be patient, and it's going to come, it still came way faster than I thought. I was like, oh, this is going to be I'm going to spend so much money. It's going to be well over a year before I see anything any kind of results, because that's what I always thought in my previous tries. Uh,
Yeah.
and and again, it was slow, but it was a lot faster than I anticipated, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It does, but a big part of it is because you were dedicated, you were disciplined to the process, and you trusted the process, right? That's a big thing we see with members is a lack of coachability makes it harder to see progression because people tend to want to do their own thing.
Hmm.
It's like, but I want to eat this way. I'm like, the reason you are here is because you were eating this way, right? So we need to do something different to get you to a different place. And you followed the game plan, and now you have like an awesome six pack, and we're continuing to add food, and it's going to get even more defined. You're going to have to put on some more muscle, and I promise you're going to feel like a complete different man once you're at the end of that reverse diet,
Hmm.
because once you get past the like 500-600 calories added to your bottom line for your calorie deficit,
Hmm.
there's a big shift in like how much energy and strength you have per day. You just feel like you can move anything,
Hmm.
right? Like you just feel like you can move anything. So I'm excited for you to get to that place where just strength is unlimited. You feel like you can lift a car. I don't know if you'll be able to, but you'll feel like you could.
And I'm ready for that. I mean, I definitely feel great in my workouts, but I still feel like I feel like I should have more energy. And I'm
Hmm.
not. I mean, again, I can work a 12-hour day and I'm fine. But when I
Yeah.
get home, I'm definitely ready to eat and go to bed. But I feel like there should be more energy. So I'm just like trying to be patient, just like add the calories as you said, and kind of see how it goes.
Yeah, well, you're still in a deficit technically, right? So your
Right.
energy is depleted, so it's normal. But yeah, once you get back up to that maintenance level, it's a game changer. It'll feel really good. Um, so I'm curious, like, what would you attribute the success that you've had in terms of fat loss and body composition so far? Like, what were the tools that were the most helpful to you throughout the program?
I mean, I would say the consistent one that I committed to being consistent, and
Hmm.
and I've been very consistent with the workouts. That's not been a problem for me. I love, again, I just didn't have the concept of like, okay, you're like, okay, you got 7 days to get these 4 days in, just make it fit in there. And so that having that flexibility has been helpful. That I'm like, okay, I can't go today, but I'm like, I still have 3 more days to work this out.
Hmm.
The meal, I mean, I started in the summer, so I was listening to like all the calls. I couldn't get on them before because of my schedule, so I would just listen
Yeah.
during my walks, and so the replays are really helpful. Or being on the calls as well has been really helpful. I'm not as active in the chat. I'll post some stuff now and then. I'll flip through them now and then, but the calls definitely help. I mean, I listen to if I'm not listening to a call in the morning, when I'm working out, I'm listening to one of your podcasts. And so,
Yeah, which you're on now. So
right. So I'll switch back and forth and listening to those, but that's been really helpful. I mean, Sarah's very patient. Like, I think I was expecting, like in the beginning, I think I was expecting someone to like not yell at me, but I was like, I'd be like, "Come on, you need to do this." And Sarah's just like, "Okay, well, let's do this." And she's just so laid back and relaxed, but will gives the guidance for sure.
yeah.
But I'm just like, wasn't she gonna yell at me? Like, I'm like, hey, I ate this thing, and she's like, okay, well, move on. uh,
Yeah.
and so I was just like, okay, well, you've got to ultimately discipline yourself to make it happen. Like, Sarah can't do it for me. So
Hmm.
taking the information and try to just put it into action.
Yeah. Well, I love you shared that because um, I've personally been a part of a lot of coaching programs way before when I was doing bodybuilding and all that, and that really like hard approach didn't serve me. I've never really seen it serve anyone
Hmm.
because if you say like, "Hey, I feel guilt because I ate this thing and I went off track," and then like we basically shit on you for doing it, you feel worse, which leads to more self sabotage and less believe in yourself that like, hey, you have the ability to do this. And it doesn't serve anyone to criticize
Hmm.
anyone about a decision. It's just like, great, you ate a pizza, all right, win the next meal, right? Like
Right.
the pizza is not going to destroy the whole transformation, but if we beat you over the head with it, then it might destroy the whole transformation, because you might just decide to be like, I can't do this. This is too hard. And I think that's why I love Coach Sarah. That's why I love Coach Nicole. And like, we all have the same approach, right? It's like, you messed up, cool, happens, get back on track. Don't need to beat yourself up over it. You don't need to like drag this mistake and create 10 more out of it, basically.
Right. And that's also helped
Yeah.
me learn that even not having somebody yell at me, but then not yelling at myself then, and just be like, okay, whatever, you're fine. And you know, I sometimes I feel like I focus on the scale too much, but at the same time, I was like, but now I have an understanding of like, why did that number move? Like, you didn't just suddenly gain 5 pounds in a day or two.
Yeah.
Even on my vacation for a week, like, you didn't suddenly just gain 5 pounds during that vacation. Like, just relax, get back on plan, and you know, and then everything just kind of shifts back. So it's been easier on me, because I think also coming in, I was in this mindset of, you know, just don't eat those things. You just have to stop eating those things. And I was like, well, there are things that I really like. And so I don't feel guilty now. I was like, you know what, if I want a vegan chocolate chip cookie, which I love, like now,
Yeah, of course.
how many calories is it and how can I shift? And now I have a better understanding, of like, okay, what is that going to do? How do you shift things versus like, oh, I can never have these things again. That's going to work for so many months. And then I'm just going to go nuts and binge on it.
Yeah. Well, that's what makes it sustainable, right? Is you're going to the restaurant with your partner, like, cool, like, enjoy yourself, fit in your calories. If it takes half of your calories for the day, fast, eat get a big protein smoothie, and then enjoy your dinner, right? You're not going to do that every day, so it's fine from time to time. Yeah, that flexibility is extremely important. There's something you said I want to add to, but I lost my train of thought on it. What was it before the calories that you were sharing?
I mean, having those like trying to the strategy of eliminating those things altogether. Like, you just can't eat them anymore. And that's why I would laugh with like Chef AJ. She's like, well, I haven't had this in like 8 years. And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work for me. I'm like, I need to have this.
Yeah. Hey, I have vegan ice cream once a week.
What's that?
Minimum. I have vegan ice cream once a week minimum.
Yeah, I was just like, you know, if I don't have it, then I'm just going to think about it and think about it and think about it. And I mean, I definitely, you know, all of those, you know, from you guys and all those other, I've picked up little pieces, and they're helping me along the way. So, you know, I definitely try not to have stuff in the house, because, you know, then I will come home from like a 12, 14-hour day and be like, I got to have something.
Yeah.
So
and the most convenient thing is what you go for.
What's that?
And the most convenient thing
Right.
is typically what you go for in that scenario.
So now I'll like get it because I'm going to have it on this day, versus like leaving a whole bunch in the house and then just be like, oh, there it is.
Yeah. I just remember what I wanted to share.
Okay.
It was about the putting on 5 pounds.
Oh.
If you want to put on 5 pounds in a day, eat a bag of chips and drink 1 glass of wine. Ton of water retention. You'll literally put on 5 pounds the next day. And to put in perspective, right, there's the theoretical math out there that if you have to do a calorie deficit of 3,500 calories per week, which is 500 calories per day, to lose 1 pound a week.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But that's false, because for you, for every other transformation we've ever done, we can make people lose that on like 100 calorie deficit, right? Like if you go slow and steady, body adapts, we had someone lose 30 pounds on a 300 calorie deficit, but it was like spread over time.
Right.
So it's about being smart with it. But if you do the math, in order for you to put on 1 pound of fat, you have to eat 3,500 calories on top of your maintenance for the average for the week.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one. So for you to put on 5 pounds, so 5 times 3,500, you have to overeat that many calories in 1 week. Like you have to make a conscious effort,
right,
to eat that much food every single day. Like it just doesn't happen for you to put on that much weight.
Right. And that you guys have taught me that, because again, like I would just freak out and look at the scale and be like, oh my god, because I could eat a bag of chips before.
Yeah,
love those. I can't remember what they're called, but I used to eat those, and I'm just like, and they're not. I mean, yeah, it's just now having an understanding of like what's really happening with my body has helped tremendously. I would say that's probably one of my biggest takeaways from the program.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I talked about this often, right? Consistency compounds in the program and on the group calls. And the result of your success is because of consistency, right? And I'm pretty sure you didn't want to always wake up in the morning and go and do your workout every single time. I'm pretty confident you didn't want to always make the right decision and stay within your calories
Right.
for the day. So what helped you stay consistent with the game plan the majority of the time, right? Because it's not about perfection, it's about consistency over time. And that's for the members that are listening and the people that are potentially interested in joining us or transforming by themselves. Like, what helped you be consistent and have that higher degree of discipline that allowed you to now have your first six pack at 53?
I think just seeing that the progress was happening and I believe and trusting that process. The other thing that I think was surprising for me is I always hated to run. And then like around when I turned 40, I started running, and cause I was like, this is how I'm going to lose weight. And, so I was running, and then kind of during COVID, I couldn't really get to a gym. So I was running more. And then I burned myself out, and then I was like, this is not going to work unless I have to do a whole bunch of cardio. And like, so I don't,
Yeah.
I mean, I besides walking and getting my steps in and my warm up, I don't do any other cardio. And so I was like, today's going to be the day that Sarah's going to say, we're going to have to add in cardio. And she's like, if you don't want to do cardio, we're not going to run.
Yeah.
And so that's been good. But I think, so again, realizing that the progress is going to happen and I don't have to do these extreme measures. I don't have to do fasting. I don't have to run like crazy. And then just seeing that it's working. And I think that's what kept me consistent. I mean, the gym has been fairly easy for me. Like I actually get mad if I'm like, if I'm on call for work and I get a call while I'm at the gym in the morning, I'm just like, this is throwing me off. Like I hate missing the gym when I travel. My husband's just like, really? You're going to go find a gym? Like, yeah, I'm going to go find a gym.
Of course.
And he's like, all right, well, cause he does his own thing, but he's just like, I'm not going to the gym while I'm on vacation. And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. It's going to go disappear for a little while and then I'll be back.
Yeah.
He's learned to just let me. He's not plant-based, but because I cook, he lets me cook. He'll eat it. So, but when he goes out, he'll eat meat. But he deals with today I'm going to try this. And do you want to try it? So he goes along with it. But really just seeing that the program is working. And so that's what kept me consistent. And that even if I mess up on food, it's still working. And then my body may hold on to the water or salt for 3, 4, 5 days, but usually by the end of the week, it's kind of released again, or I go to the bathroom, it's released again.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, okay, yeah, it's still working. It's not, there's not been definitely I was not, meal prep was taking me a long time, and my day off, I was like, I feel like I'm taking so much. So I started, when Sarah and Nicole started doing the tips, like that has helped. And so now I kind of do those staples and have them there, and it's easier. But that was probably what was hardest for me. But again, realizing like it's working. Just, you might mess up here and there, but it's still working. So just keep staying consistent.
Yeah, beautiful. It's trusting the process, doing the work, you see the results. And what you shared of, if I mess up and it might take 3 to 4 days for the weight to come back down, that's a hard thing for people to grasp sometimes, right? It's like, I messed up, but I don't want the weight to be up the next day. And the body is not it's reaction, right? It's like, well, you did this, now this happens, now we just have to wait until it goes away. But that's what I've seen throughout the years, is something that throws people off. It's like, I sabotaged the whole transformation because I had vegan cake and wine, and now my weight spiked up 5 pounds the next day. Like, the whole thing is screwed. So I'm really happy that you were able to kind of overcome that little like 3 to 4 day phase of like, it's cool, it's gonna come back down. Was it like that the first time it happened?
No, it was a process for sure. Like, oh my God, look at the scale. Like, and I'd freak out. And, in the beginning, a few times I was like, well, I'm just not going to eat. But I mean, we were at lower calories. I'm like, no, I have to eat. I'm hungry. um,
Yeah.
so like, and I had, I did fasting for almost a year. So then like I would kind of roll back into that a little bit. And
Hmm.
I was like, okay, nope, they're saying like, just don't do that. And so it took me a while to kind of trust that part of the process and just be like, okay, yes, it's going to come back. Like it happened enough times that I was like, okay, I can trust it. I can trust that my weight's going to come back down. I'm fine. But yeah, in the beginning, I was just like, oh, geez, I'm like, I already messed this up. And because I've lost weight before, and then, the usual, you go back to eating the same way. And then and like, it's like, I don't even notice. Like all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, how did I gain this weight back?
Yeah, it just comes back on really
Yeah.
fast after.
But like, it's like, I don't notice. I'm like, nope, I'm fine. I can eat this. I can eat this. And I'm like, oh, whoops.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm happy you're doing reverse dieting right now, right? Because it's just going to allow you to like tighten up like your body, and then for you to eat a ton of food to maintain. And it'll be really hard for you to screw up. Like you're going to have to like consciously try to overeat because of the types of food that you're eating, which are whole food, plant based for the most part. Like it's really high volume. So when we get you to like, for example, 3,000 calories of whole food, plant based, like that is a lot of
Can't even.
food to eat.
So I'm like at 2,200. I'm like, that's 800 more calories. Like, really?
Yeah. So your food choices changes a little bit, right? You start to add a bit more like hemp seeds and
Yeah.
things like chia seeds, some nut butters, a little bit more. Like you have to go for more calorie dense food because
Right.
if you eat the same way in terms of volume that you were eating at the lower set of calories, like you're going to be chewing food all day at 3,000, right? So you need to make like some I don't know if you ever tried that, sweet potatoes in the oven, cut in half. You put some almond butter, it kind of melts
Ah,
with some cinnamon in there. It's so good.
uh,
It's
I
so
mean, it
good.
sounds like a luxury. I mean, I love sweet potatoes. I don't put anything on them. I love them anyway, but like the Hawaiian sweet potatoes and the Marasaki. But yeah, that sounds decadent. So,
It's it's a dessert.
yeah,
I'm bulking right now, so it's like a dessert that I just have after a meal.
I'm gonna have to. I'll wait. That'll be a little too soon. I throw it
It is a lot of calories.
up quick, so I'm like, I love almond butter. I have to like reel it in.
Yeah. So actually, I'm curious. Was there any food that you had to take out of your house that you were like that you would typically keep? Like, and
Mhm.
the reason I bring that up because you said like I love almond butter. We had a member who, if he had peanut butter, he would just end up eating it by the spoon
Mhm.
when it came to nighttime. So I was like, you need to like throw the peanut butter away, and we did it on a Zoom call together. He threw it in the garbage, and then he never bought it after. But it was like his thing. I was like, if it's there, like I'm gonna end up eating it.
Mhm.
Was there some of these foods that would be considered like I would say like healthy, like peanut
Yeah,
butter, nut butters that you're like I just
I
can't have in the house?
love medjool dates, and I
Yes.
throw the Trader Joe's container in like 2 days. And I was like, they're so, I knew they were calorie dense. So I'm like, but I was like, this is all right. I'm not eating candy. I'm eating dates.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, I would not have them in the house, or if a recipe called for them, I would just go buy them in bulk and just
Yeah.
buy like however many I needed. Now I'm to the point, like I get the big one at Costco and it lasts me. Like I won't allow myself to eat dates just as a snack because I feel like
Hmm.
that's going to trigger because that they are such a downfall for me. But I just use them in whatever I'm preparing.
Yeah.
But for a while, I would not have any more than like 4 dates in the refrigerator, and that was like that specifically for that meal. Uh,
Yeah.
so that was
Well,
probably the big thing.
that's good. You know yourself. You're able to kind of find these little tricks. And like originally, what you said, like eating whole food, plant based, people tell you as much as you want.
Mm.
Dates are dense in
I
calories.
knew
Like there's a lot in there.
like Chef AJ's chart, and I was like, it's way over here. It's a whole food, but like I was like, but I love because I this is crazy. I love candy corn and Swedish fish, and so those
Yeah.
down for a really long time. And so like I stopped eating those, and I was like, oh well, I found dates. Like it's got that sweetness. And so like it's a joke every year. It's almost like I'm in recovery from candy corn. So I'm just like, my friends are like, oh, it's this time of year. Have you had your candy corn? And I was like, nope, haven't had it now. 3 years, 4 years, whatever. I'm not gonna. I'm because that's almost like the dates. Like if I have one, I'm like, it's over.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
get a whole bag of those.
Yeah, sugar is addicting for sure, and that's why like especially candies are so small. Kind of like same thing for chips.
Mm,
I don't know if you found this, but we talked about like flexibility and being able to include foods that you enjoy a little bit more.
mhm.
Um, some people have a hard time potentially managing, like, hey, I'm just gonna have 3 cookies with like a cup of unsweet almond milk. How do you manage making things fit in? I want to say the words, I want to use the word restriction lightly.
Mhm.
Is it the restriction of like I only have this amount of calories for this thing, so therefore I will only have 3, versus being like I eat 3 and it's like shit, I want the whole box. Like how did you manage respecting that?
I mean, since the reverse diet, I started using MyFitnessPal consistently because I was like, I need to see this, and then I can get
Mm.
those foods and see like how many calories they are. And so again, since we started adding calories, I've got more flexibility. So I'm like, okay, I know that my breakfast, I mean, I try to vary up my food, but I'm kind of like bad with the same things. But I was like, I know this is what this is, or I'm going to back off, or like tonight I'm going for vegan ice cream, and so I'm going to have to adjust. But I like. There's 2 cookies that I like. There's the Whole Foods vegan one, and then there's this place called Sweet Pea Bakery and their cookies. So I know exactly how many calories those are. So I'm like, okay, if you're gonna have this, like I try to like plan it early. I mean, does it mess up now and then? Yes, but I try to plan early in the day, like, or hey, it's gonna be my day off tomorrow. I'm going to go get that cookie, and so I'm
Hmm.
gonna work my whole day around that cookie if I want that cookie. Uh,
Yeah.
but learning with MyFitnessPal, like I played with it before, but I'm playing with it more now, and I'm considering getting Lane Norton's app, the Carbon app.
Yes. Yeah.
Considering playing with that just to because I now that I'm doing it, I was just like, okay, I'm pretty comfortable with this. Like, I want to know what those off plan things are going to be so that I can adjust.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't always happen. Sometimes it's like, oh, okay, we're going to dinner, or oh, I try not to eat it. My coworkers bring a lot of stuff to work, so I try not to eat any of that. And they're like, oh, but we made this one for you. It's vegan. I'm like, no, I don't know what you put in that. I don't tell them that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, it's vegan, but how much oil? Like, I'm still gun shy on oil, which Sarah's trying to
Yeah.
work me on that. But that was from the, no sugar, oil, and salt. So I'm still
Yeah.
gun shy on that. So, but I was like, but when I don't, like, if I'm going to put it in, I know how much is in it. Like, I don't know what you're putting in. You're,
Yeah. And
well,
usually people when they make cookies for others, like they go hard on like the heavy
yeah,
ingredients of sugar and fats. Um it, I'm happy doing my fitness balance experimenting with that because as person what I've been doing for, 10 plus years now. And when you want, like, I know for some people that might be listening, have never tracked their food, or like, it's crazy to like be like, I'll plan my day around a cookie. So it's not that necessarily Patrick is planning his day around a cookie. It's like budgeting.
right.
Like you have different funds for like this goes towards like mortgage payment, this goes towards restaurant, this goes towards like activity with your partner. So you're just budgeting a chunk of your calories towards something that you want to enjoy, and then the rest of the day you focus on nutrient dense foods
Hmm.
to make sure that you stay healthy. Like there's nothing wrong with budgeting a little bit of that calorie for this one thing, and you just when you budget, you remove it once the money comes into your account. That way you don't have to look at it and you know it's available when you need it. That's how I like to see like that flexibility of being able to include foods that you enjoy.
Yeah, I love that. Like, I didn't anticipate that I was going to have that option. So I was just like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I mean, it'll be a struggle in Mexico because they have so many good plant-based places. But again, I don't
Yeah.
know them. So, but I'm kind of like, I'm going to work hard up until that point. I'm going to be as healthy as I can while I'm there, but I'm not going to beat myself up because it's my first longer vacation in a while. I'm just like, I'm going to enjoy it. But I also want to take off my shirt. And I know that I eat certain things. Like, I was like, well, now you're going
Yeah, I mean bloated a bit.
to.
Yeah.
So
um,
the balancing.
well, a little game plan for you for Mexico because you're going in 2 weeks. I'm flying out tomorrow
Mm.
to Cabo for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So how I handle trips, how I'm going to handle this trip, and how I handle every single trip when I go to a different country. I always bring protein powder with
Yeah.
me simply because for the amount of calories and the amount of protein you get for the low amount of calories, like it's the best bang for your buck when you're in any new place. Obviously, when you travel, you want to eat at a different restaurant, you want to experience the culture, you want to try different foods. And so I always have like 1 or 2 scoops of protein powder first thing in the morning.
Okay.
I get like 40, 50 grams right there. That's like a third of my protein intake for me. And then when I go to restaurants, like I can usually add up the rest of the 100, or I'll have like a block of tofu there, and then I'll have like protein powder, tofu, and then I'm just going to eat at the restaurant foods that I enjoy to fill up the rest of my calories. And that usually brings me up to like my 150 grams per day, plus the rest of my calories. And I'm able to stay on track with the goal that I am after. But like you're eating out, so there's more sodium, like you will be more bloated, just there will be more water retention. Like there's no way to get around it unless you cook your own food the whole time. So you kind of have to accept that. But it's Mexico, so you sweat a lot, so you're less likely to retain water and look bloated because you're just sweating a lot. So drink water, be shirtless, be in the sun, you'll sweat out the salt. But that's how I handle trips. Protein powder, a block of tofu or some tempeh. I'll just go to like a vegan store, and then I'll just, enjoy myself from there. Where are you going to Mexico?
Puerto Vallarta.
Okay. I've never been there before.
Love, but we go there all the time. And I have protein powder stashed that I've been holding on to for this trip, but I think I get a little bit more to take with me. So because we don't usually check bags, but we're actually checking bags this time. So I'm like, perfect. I can put this protein powder in here. Things that I'll be able to.
Your carry-on is like half blocks of tofu, half protein powder.
But now I can just put at least the protein powder in the check luggage.
Yeah. You'll be fine. You'll have a good time. It's good food, and the protein part is the important part. I want to ask you like just 2 last questions. Yep. I know we have a group call with the members in 10 minutes. Have you ever had any time throughout the program where you were lower on your protein? Like when you mentioned like before the holidays and all that, like was there a time where you were lower on your protein intake than you normally were?
Off and on, not consistent. Like there might be a day or two here that I'm just like, I've eaten, or I came home really late and I was just like, I don't have any more room and I'm literally going to bed. I cannot put any more food in my stomach. So that happens sometimes, but I feel like I'm learning. It's still a process, but I'm still learning and focusing more on that. Sometimes I'll sacrifice being a little bit off on the calories just to get the protein in. So like if I'm going to go to bed, I was like, okay, I could eat all this tofu, or I could just quick have a protein drink and just go to bed. So
easy on digestion. Easy on digestion.
Right. Exactly. So it's been both. Like there's been times, but I don't know if I've ever been off like for a long enough time to like notice it at the gym or whatever. Like usually I'm feeling tired because I worked late and I was like, nope, got to get up at 4 to go to the gym. Like it doesn't matter. Get tired from that, but off and on.
Like only a few days, but never like a week at a time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because we've had some members be like very consistent like you. And then they had things like where their house was in construction, like busy with work. And for 1 week, like they were hitting their calories, but their protein wasn't being hit. Right. And one thing that you'll notice, like obviously I know you're going to stay on track with it, but for anyone listening too, and for your knowledge, if you do 1 week where you just drop down your calories by half to what most people recommend you to eat as a vegan, right? Just like the normal amount to be healthy, but you stick within your calories, your weight will stay the same. But your body composition, you'll start to look soft.
Yeah.
You won't be as strong in the gym. Like there's a significant difference if you are to lower your protein to what the normal requirement is, right? The 0.8 gram per kg of body weight. We're around the 1.2 to 2 gram per kg of body weight. So if you are to like cut it in half, your body composition, you start to look soft and fluffy, even if you stay at the same amount of calories. So like protein plays a critical role in like you building strength, retaining strength, and staying like tight and lean.
And I've heard you say that, so it's always been free. I was like, no, get the protein. But definitely, when I came back from New York, I definitely felt soft because I was like, maybe I had all the protein, but I know my calories were way off and I was just bloated. Yeah.
So Patrick, I love to ask you this as last question I ask everyone. If there's someone that's listening that's in a similar position that you were when you first got started, right? Maybe they feel like a skinny weak vegan. They feel fluffy and puffy, and they feel like when they go to the gym, they're like, I don't want to rock a fit vegan shirt because I don't feel like I look the part yet. And they're on the fence of either working with us through the program or just taking on their own transformation. What is something that you would say to them now, you being on the flip side and being what I call a success story?
I would say try it. I mean, it's all the stuff that I read before and learned before. It's not all of it, but I mean, it was just like, that's no, you can still do this way. I mean, and it's not as it's a you need to be patient. I think you guys put out a lot of free content that could help somebody. Just like, I was like, try it out, dip your toe in without making a commitment. But I mean, having the support is going to help you along a lot more. But I mean, you put recipes out there, you put tips out there. Like, I think I think it's easy enough for somebody to try things, before they even join the program. But the structure of the program is what helped me. For sure. The resources have helped, and I'd say it's definitely worth the money. But you've got to make the commitment as well. Like, stuff you can have all this stuff there, but if you're not going to commit to yourself, and I will be honest, I have not done the cold showers.
That's all right.
I am not, but I mean, I think it's the commitment to yourself. And if you're going to do it, then, stay consistent, but don't beat yourself up. Just keep getting back on track. And it's working for me. And if you're consistent, I think you'll be happy with the results.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Well, it's working for you and 600 other people.
Exactly.
We know it works. So Patrick, I want to say massive thank you for taking the time to jump on the podcast. Really happy to have you on, because I know you mentioned you listen to a lot of them. So now you're a part of the Fit Vegan Success Story episodes. And I will see you in a few minutes on the group call we have with members. And then for everyone listening, thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the next episodes.
All right. Thanks. Bye.